Welcome everyone to today's Cultivating Success webinar. We're really glad that you're here. Ariel Agenbrod with University of Idaho Extension is the lead for today's webinar, and she's put together a really great program. This webinar series is part of Cultivating Success, which is a program that was started in 2000 to support small acreage farms and ranches in Idaho and also in Washington. So our partners for putting this program together are University of Idaho Extension, WSU Food Systems Program, and the nonprofit Rural Roots. We actually have 6 sessions in this webinar series. If you go to our website, cultivatingsuccess.org, you'll be able to see the topics for each session. Each week for the next 3 weeks, we have a session on Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific and 12 p.m. Mountain. So we encourage you to log on to our Cultivating Success website and register for the webinars that interest you. Each webinar does have a unique registration, so you'll need to use that link. Once you register, you're going to get automatic reminders about those upcoming webinars. So thank you again for being here. I'm Colette DePhelps. I'm an area educator with the University of Idaho Extension, and I'm going to be on the tech side today. And I'm really grateful to have our colleague and lead for today, Ariel Agenbrod, who is also a community food systems area educator. And she works with food systems and small farms down in the Treasure Valley area. I am located in North Idaho on the Moscow campus. A couple of quick tips before I hand the program over to Ariel. If you're having any trouble with your sound, different programs on your computer could be taking up some of your bandwidth, so we encourage you to close those programs. Any problems that you're having, you can type in the chat or the Q&A box, and myself and our program assistant, Kate Wood, will be on call to help you with tech issues. You do have a call-in number that's provided in your welcome email, and at any time you can change from your computer audio to your phone audio if you're not already on your phone. Please type questions for the speakers into the Q&A box, which is in the control bar. Generally, that is at the bottom of your screen, and we will have time to answer those questions. The webinar is being recorded, and it and the slide handout will be available on the Cultivating Success website in the next couple of days.
All right. Thank you so much, Colette. You did a great job, and it's just great to know that we've got that tech support and that help today as we get started. So I'm Ariel Agenbrod, and yes, I'm with University of Idaho Extension. I can't wait to talk to you today about one of my favorite things. A little bit later in today's presentation, I'm going to be joined by 3 of my distinguished colleagues, and I will introduce them in more detail when we get to that section, but we'll have Josh Bevan from the UI Food Technology Center in Caldwell, Desiree Wickwar from the UI Kimberly R&E Center in Kimberly, and Kent Youngdahl from the UI Sandpoint Organic Ag Center in Sandpoint. So hang on, you 3, we'll get to you in just a little bit. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about, well, I was going to preface it with this whole webinar series this spring is about where do you find information and resources that can help you as a small farmer, rancher, landowner to succeed and achieve your goals. So we wanted to introduce you to all the different agencies, organizations, people, and places that can help you in some way along your journey. And we're kicking things off because we are University of Idaho. That's where we're going to start. And so we call this We're Here to Help You. And I'm going to share a little bit about University of Idaho Extension and also our Idaho Agriculture Experiment Station and how we can be part of your journey. So who are we and what we do, right? So I wanted to start by sharing the UI Extension mission. And I'm kind of a history buff as far as UI goes. I went to school there for both of my degrees, and now I've been working for U of I for about 17 years. So I would say that I bleed black and gold. I'm truly a vandal. And part of the reason that I have such a love for my school and for what I do is because I wholeheartedly believe in our mission to conduct extension. And I think it's such a special part of the land-grant university system. So over here on the right of your screen, I found this old mission statement. It's probably from the probably the mid 90s based on the logos that are being used. And our mission has really not changed that much. We've been around for over 100 years in Idaho as a component of the University of Idaho's College of Ag and Life Sciences. And so for over 100 years, we have worked to improve people's lives by engaging both the university and our communities through research-based education. And because we are part of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, we focus on agriculture, community development, family and consumer sciences, natural resources, and youth development. And honestly, our work in small farms and food systems sometimes touches all of these different areas, depending on what we're working with and who we're working with. So I find that especially my role and someone like Colette, we really cross a lot of the lines in terms of subject matter. So you can see on the last slide, it was cooperative extension. You might see, in old documents or even in new documents in other universities, cooperative extension system, cooperative extension service, but that word cooperative comes up a lot. So I wanted to pick that apart a little bit and explain what we mean. So it's cooperative in that land-grant universities are federally mandated to conduct education, conduct research, and to have extension. And so in order to do that, it becomes a cooperation for both financial and programming through the state and the land-grant university, the federal government, and county governments. So to put it lightly, we wear many hats and we have many bosses because we report to all of these different agencies and entities who all have a stake in what we're doing because they all have some money invested. In Idaho, we are really fortunate that we operate from 42 county offices across Idaho. And if you're in Idaho, a knowledge buff, you know that we have 44 counties. So what about those other 2 counties? Well, they are still covered because they share an office next door. So we have 2 county offices that are shared across county lines. And so this is our current vision statement for University of Idaho Extension. So University of Idaho Extension, leaders in building a thriving, prosperous, healthy Idaho, right? We're going to be part of all of that. And that's really what keeps us going and drives what we do because we are here, we are part of our communities. That's one of the neat things about having faculty located across the state is that we are part of the communities in which we serve. And so, we go to the same schools and the same churches and we shop at the same farmers market. And so we are invested in the success of our communities and those that live there, our friends and neighbors. So I mentioned that we deliver research-based information, right? So our information that we share with the public, that we develop, that we provide through all of our different means of communication is rooted in research. So whether it's university research that we are accessing, whether it's our own applied research, whether it's research being done at our sister universities around the region or the nation, all of our information is coming from scientifically backed and tested sources. And we find that really important. We want to be reliable. We want to be fact-based for you. So some of the ways that we distribute our information through newsletters, through media, both traditional media and social media, through workshops and classes like this one, through websites and social media. Many of us are getting into video production as a way to reach people and to give demonstration type knowledge. And then our bulletins and handbooks. So we're still very invested in publications. They are almost all online, but plenty of them you can get in paper form too. And here's just an example of a recent publication on edible landscaping, which I love the way that our design and college publishing house is working on our publications these days. They're just beautiful. So we couldn't do all of this alone, right? Those were pretty lofty goals. And when you think about it, many of our county extension offices have one faculty member and maybe one part-time receptionist and a program coordinator. So we really have to build our capacity to be able to accomplish all that we want to accomplish to really help our clientele meet their goals. And so we do receive a certain amount of county funds and resources. And typically this is covering the cost of the building and the maintenance of our facility where our county office is located. That's that county's contribution. They say, okay, here's a home for you. Sometimes it's in a courthouse. Sometimes it's in a beautiful, fully equipped building. Sometimes, like in our Gem County office, it is a double wide trailer and you make the best of what you've got. We also typically receive a little bit of county funds or a lot, depending on the county, for our support staff. So our office managers, our customer service representatives, and in some cases, our 4-H program coordinators. But that's not enough to do everything. And then I will say we receive our salaries from the University of Idaho as faculty members. But to do everything else, we've got to find funds. And so we do actively pursue and receive funding through grants, both internal university grants and USDA and federal and state and other grants. We also have endowments, especially around the 4-H program. Sometimes we're the recipients of gifts or sponsorships to do programming. Sometimes in-kind donations. Ag West Credit will offer to buy the dinner for one of our meetings. And then really where I think a lot of what we can do is made possible is through the contributions of volunteers, specifically in like our horticulture, our food safety, and our 4-H programs. We couldn't accomplish anything that we do without volunteers. So 100 years, right? Are we exactly the same as when we started? No, we're not. Some of the fundamentals are the same, but a lot of things, thank goodness, have changed. And here on the right, this is actually a photograph from the University of Idaho archives. And this is, I think, the old thinking or the old impression about the county agent, right? We used to be called ag agents or county agents. We were agents of the University of Idaho. Sometimes I still wish that we were called that because I think it was really fun. But here you've got the farmer and he's kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've got my cow. And then you've got the, you got the guy with glasses who's probably the researcher. And then you've got the extension agent kind of in between. So there was this idea that, we were the keepers of the knowledge and the information, and we were disseminating it across our state. But that has changed a lot. And partly, I think that is for the best. So some things that have influenced recent change, in fact, is that our Idaho population has exploded, right? We are one of the fastest growing states. Some of our communities are the fastest growing communities in the whole nation. That's a lot to absorb. And so our communities are continually diversifying. We are having a real explosion in a wonderful diversity of folks moving into our state. And then urbanization and technology have changed a lot about how information is delivered. And I will also say that, we are still very much an agricultural state, but we are becoming more and more urban in many parts of the state. And so the audiences that we reach is changing and growing and evolving as well. But so because we have so much access to technology and we are able to travel and we are able to access new ideas, the one expert model really no longer works or makes sense for extension, right? That we're the only ones that have the information and you have to come to us to get it. That doesn't really work, because there's Google and you can find answers. So instead, we really become partners in our community and gatekeepers, helping people access the best high quality information and to solve their problems through a really collaborative and cooperative approach. And also resources are increasingly limited. And so we're all sharing. And that's really why we've got to leverage and work with our partners if we want to accomplish our goals. So I am in Ada County. That's where my office is located. Even though I really work statewide in a number of areas, I also work across my region. But my actual mailing address and where I'm sitting right now is in our UI Extension office, which is in technically Garden City, but inside Boise. So we have seen a lot of change in recent years. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about our office as an example, because that's where I am. And then I'll talk about where you might find resources and who you might find if you are outside, because I know that our audience is very diverse and statewide for these webinars. So we've got, we really are fortunate. We have 6 educators in our office. We are one of, if not the largest office in the state, which I guess makes sense because we are in the largest population area in the state. But we are also the most urban county. And so you'll notice that we do not have an agricultural educator. And most of the other counties in our region and in the state have an ag educator because there is still so much agriculture that needs to be supported. So our neighbors in Caldwell, they have an ag educator. And we rely on them. So we have Susan Bell, who does home and commercial horticulture, myself working on small farms and community food systems. We just are bringing on Gail Silkwood for 4-H and youth development. She's coming down from St. Mary's. Cindy Martinez, who works with 4-H youth development. Bridget Morrisrow Amon, who is our family and consumer sciences educator, and Andrew Bingham, who works with youth and financial literacy. So these are topics of interest to the urban audiences in Ada County, as well as the remaining agricultural community in Ada County. So that's just kind of a snapshot of our office. But don't expect that every office is going to have nearly this breadth of programming. There might be one educator, they might be focused on ag or family and consumer sciences or 4-H, and then they have to be generalists and kind of help serve all these other needs. So it's a big challenge, and it's a big ask for many of our faculty. So we're also joined by program coordinators in each topic area. We have our office administrative staff. And then, fortunately, we often receive funding to hire UI or other college interns every year. And that really adds to our makeup and our energy and our ability to serve people. And then we're joined by hundreds of volunteers every year that do a tremendous job at helping us to, excuse me, expand and enhance our programming. And I will say one of my goals in the next few years is to develop an urban farming volunteer corps, because we've got a lot of need for that. And I don't have my team. I don't have volunteers right now in my position. So just some of the things that I work on in the Treasure Valley. So I really look at community food systems as a very broad lens, everything from a home food garden that feeds a family to, to much larger, to a farm that is supplying CSAs or farmers markets. So I do work a little bit with community garden and school garden leadership to help develop those programs. I work a lot with local food producers and on their marketing, on their production, on just consulting about what they want to do and where they want to go. I do work with urban agriculture producers, everything from microgreens to those wanting to explore indoor production. I work a lot statewide with farmers markets. I'm part of the Farmers Market Association, and I work very closely with the markets in my community. Through Cultivating Success, we are able to offer a number of different opportunities for beginning farmer education, whether those are our in-person classes or the things that we share statewide. More recently, I've been working with veterans on beginning farming and gardening, and then I do work on a lot of food safety for gardens and farms. So many things that you could find information about by coming to our office or our website. Some of the things that we hope to accomplish, we really look at how many youth are engaged in our programs. When it comes to our small acreage landowners, we're looking at how well we are able to help them manage their weeds, their soil, their water, etc. We look at the number of small farm businesses that we start and sustain and have some role in, and we feel very, very successful when we can see that. And then we also look at how many farmers we're training in food safety, And we try to help farmers markets collect data so they can tell their stories. So lots of different things that we're involved with. So I'm going to pick it up just a little bit here. I do want to let you know that even if you are not in the vicinity of the Treasure Valley or the Southern District, you have got support out there. We are a small team in terms of our small farms team, but we do have pretty good statewide coverage for the most part, at least in some aspect of small farms. And many of us do work regionally. And so if you are not getting an answer at your county level, there's no reason you can't reach out to someone nearby or to Colette or myself, who are kind of the regional representatives. So starting from our small farms website, we've got a small acreage and local food website through U of I that really talks about all of our different program areas. When you go to our people, this is just 3 of our lovely ladies. You will see our educators that have a small farm assignment or have worked in small farms. You can contact them directly. Now, if you find that you don't have anybody near you, check out what is happening in your county, and I'll get to that in a second. I also wanted to show you that in terms of some of our distance or free and accessible education, we have a Small Farms Team YouTube channel where you can see many recorded presentations on a number of topics. This can be a great companion on a day like today where it's just snowing, sleet, rain, and it's really cold and yucky. If you want to connect with other growers or you want to find out what might be happening in terms of events, we do have a Facebook page for Cultivating Success and also for our UI Small Farms. And then we have our publications. So on our extension website, if you go to the link for publications, you can search by any topic. You can look at all of the different topics on the left-hand side here, and you can go directly to our small acreage farming. And there are a few listed in here that I wouldn't say are specifically small farms, but it does include all of our small farm pubs. Like this one at the bottom, the buying locally raised meat for custom processing. I think that's a great one. And here's one on community supported agriculture for Idaho farms. So if you wanted to look at the whole of Idaho, of University of Idaho Extension, or when you looked at our small farms team, you didn't see anyone close to you, you can find a direct person. You can also find a county and find out what is available at your county. You can walk into a county office, and even if they don't have an answer for you, they're going to welcome you. They're going to offer you what they can. And then they'll probably email Colette or myself or somebody else and say, hey, I've got this client with a question and I want to help them, but I'm not sure I have the answer. We do this all the time. I do it when people have questions about raising beef cattle because I am a plants girl, not really a cow girl. But I know who to ask. And that's really one of the things that Extension can do for you. We are all in this because we like helping people and we love the subject matter. And so even if we don't have the answer, we're going to try. And I would say too, be persistent, because sometimes we are just inundated with the calls and the walk-ins and the emails. So if you don't get a response the first time, try again, and most likely you'll get us that time. So we are extremely busy. And remember, I said we wear many hats. So we might be out in the field. So the next thing I wanted to switch into really quick was talking about our research and extension centers, because this is another huge component of what we do. And that's why I brought our 3 guest speakers with us today. So the Idaho Agricultural Experiment Station, remember I said that we had that 3-part mandate, right? For teaching that happens on campus and off campus, but primarily that's what you think of when you think of campus. Then we have our Idaho Extension, which I just talked about in detail. And then the Idaho Ag Experiment Station. This is where a lot of the research happens. So it's the research division of our College of Ag and Life Sciences. And this is where we are doing agricultural research statewide. So for more than 130 years, so I guess the Ag Experiment Station does predate Extension by 30 years, so almost a whole generation. So they've been around a long time. working to improve the quality of life for Idahoans, impacting the citizens and the state economy by working again with producers, businesses, and communities to find solutions to critical issues. So the research at our stations is not driven by somebody just had an idea of something they wanted to study. These are real issues that are facing Idaho economies, Idaho communities, Idaho agriculture. And so they are relevant to what is happening in the state, and that's really special. So we have 9 research and extension centers and 6 affiliate centers located across the state, and all of them are focused on improving agricultural practices, developing new and valuable crop varieties, protecting our agriculture from pests and disease, and helping our economy grow. And our economy is still very much dependent on agriculture, so they are very dependent on the research and extension centers. So I was going to share with you just a little bit about our Parma Research and Extension Center, because this is the one closest to me, and this is the one that I really engage with the most. And I believe that, you know, for our small farmers, our pomology system, our plant pathologist, our entomologist, these are all resources that are very applicable to our small farm audiences and can be of benefit. So I'm going to share with you a really quick video, and then we will go into our interview Q&A with our special guests from the Research and Extension Centers and affiliated centers.
The Parma Research and Extension Center was actually established in 1922, and one of those things where the local industry had a problem, and they came to the university and said, we need help solving a pest that's ravaging our alfalfa crops, and we're willing to put in some support to help initiate the program, and from there it really built over the years to what it is today. The Parma station actually consists of about 200 acres. There's 80 acres up in an orchard area about 3 miles north of the main station. And the main station has about 120 acres. About 80 of that is farmable and row crops for research. We have a lot of really high value specialty crops here. So we're one of the few locations, even in the Northwest, that does research on seed crops, fruit crops, hops, mint. So some of those things that are kind of unique to the Treasure Valley region of Western Idaho and Eastern Oregon. And then we have a range of disciplines. So we have scientists working in plant pathology, nematology, agronomy, soil science, you know, just kind of the whole gamut of sciences that impact crop production. So it's really a nice mix of a unique cropping system with a wide range of disciplines to study those cropping systems. So the work we do here impacts agriculture not only on a statewide basis, but a nationwide and worldwide basis. But I think one of the visions for Parma going forward is to play a really key role in diagnosing samples that come in with unknown pests, diseases, weeds, things like that. So we'll have the expertise and the lab facilities here to be able to handle those kind of samples in isolation and do the work needed to identify what is the problem that's causing this plant to be sick, and then provide the answers on how to control it.
I think agriculture is really important for Idaho. There is a lot going on here. It's not just national importance, it's an internationally important agricultural growing area. So it's vitally important that the excellent growers we have access to the latest technology and world-class expertise as well. I think people.
All right, if you want to watch the entire video, we can send you the link to it. It just goes on to describe more of what happens at Parma and some of the new changes, like we just got a brand new laboratory building. So some of the reasons that you might visit Parma would be to learn more about the fruit production or to submit a plant or insect sample for diagnosis. And we can always help facilitate those relationships between a clientele and the Research and Extension Center. And sometimes our Research and Extension Center faculty and staff will work directly with you. And so to bring that really into focus, Here are our 9 research and extension centers here on the left. You can see all the way from Teutonia, which is the furthest east about you can get, up to Sandpoint, which is about as far north, Parma, and then everywhere in between. Really, really fabulous. And then we have our 6 affiliated centers. So covering everything from sheep to fish to food, and coming on very soon is the Idaho Center for Ag, Food, and the Environment, which will be down in the Jerome area. So I have invited special guests today from our Food Technology Center, our Sandpoint Organic Agriculture Center, and the Kimberly Research and Extension Center to share a little bit more about their centers, about how they relate to small farm and ranch audiences, and then just to tell us a little bit about themselves, because I think what they're doing is so special and unique and really relevant to our audiences. So who I've invited today, we've got Josh Bevan. Josh is the director of the Food Technology Center, which is located in Caldwell as part of our Caldwell R&E Center. He attended Northland College in Ashland, Wisconsin. His research and extension background and interests include good laboratory practices, principal processing investigator. He's a PCQI lead instructor. He's the past chair of the Intermountain Institute of Food Technologists. And he's a food entrepreneur, advocate, learner, and educator. And he's just a really, really cool guy to talk to. I've always enjoyed getting to tour the facility and learn about all the neat things that they have to offer our small food processing entrepreneurs. I've also invited Desiree Whitlar. She's the program manager for Integrated Pest Management and the Extension Implementation Program. And I'm going to let her talk a little bit more about what that all means. Desiree works with the University of Idaho statewide while she's located in Kimberly to accomplish Integrated Pest Management Extension Implementation Program goals. She has a master's from Utah State University and a bachelor's from Westminster College. And her research and extension interests are integrated pest management, obviously, applied entomology, insect behavior, and science communication. Very excited to hear from Desiree. And then we've got Kent Youngdell joining us. Very exciting to have representation from the Sandpoint Organic Ag Center. Kent is the assistant operations manager up there. He manages the day-to-day operations of an heirloom apple orchard and multi-species intensive grazing pasture, along with teaching interns the necessary skills and knowledge of running both operations. And you should know about that really well because he actually started at SOAC as an intern while he was pursuing his degree in sustainable food systems from University of Idaho. So I gave our introductions and I stopped sharing so that you can see their faces and I can see their faces now. So I just want to go around. We've got kind of a panel discussion to take us through the next 25 minutes. So I was hoping that each of you could just briefly tell us about the R&E Center or affiliated center where you are located. And so going off of my screen, let's just start with Desiree.
Okay, thanks, Ariel. Yeah, so like she said, I'm located here in Kimberly, Idaho, which is near Twin Falls. Outside my window over here, we have about 180 acres of irrigated land where we grow all kinds of things. Also, side note, above me, they're redoing the roof. So you may or may not be hearing that. Great improvements to our R&E centers going on. But yeah, so we have 180 acres here. We also have 4 large greenhouses and some pretty significant potato storage facilities. I'd say that's kind of our highlights. We grow primarily small grains, beans, sugar beets, potatoes, alfalfa. Yeah, mostly on the more agronomic crop side. But that's a short blurb about the R&E Center.
Perfect, thank you. Kent, so you tell us about the Sandpoint Organic Ag Center and what kinds of research is conducted there.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. So we were established in 2018, which is only 5 years ago. So we're still kind of babies up here. In comparison, Caldwell R&E Center was, I think they started their operation in 1906. So we are very brand new. We are the northernmost research extension center here in Idaho. We're approximately 68 acres at the moment, and about 28 of that is certified organic. We do have the Heritage Orchard, which is about 8 acres with 68 different varieties and 650 trees. We have a quarter acre of the educational market garden with an experienced market gardener and instructor. And she was able to produce 4,000 pounds of produce for the food bank last year, which is very impressive. We do have 4 acres of multi-species rotational grazing demonstration. We're able to house about 30 blackface Suffolk sheep and 60 chickens. And lastly, we have a large conference center with a bunkhouse that has 36 beds with it.
Thank you. And if you ever get the opportunity to go up there, it's absolutely beautiful and a wonderful place to stay. All right, Mr. Bevan, could you please tell us about the Food Technology Center and the kinds of research that are conducted there?
Sure, Ariel. Nice to see you. It's been a while. Right now, I'm wearing a lab coat because I'm processing a bunch of potatoes that actually came from Kimberly, where they're conducting research on the effects of smoke and the end product, which is a commercially produced French fry. So we are processing, I think, about 26 samples that will be par fried and frozen for analysis at Boise State University in their chemistry lab. We do a lot of work for the ag chemical industry, simulating commercial processes on a variety of commodities, anything from hops to barley to grapes, potatoes, of course, where they're looking for chemical residue in the finished consumable, whether it be animal feed or human food.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So next, I want you to tell us a little bit more about you and particularly the work that you do, because that's really why I brought you on to this call today. So tell us about your role, your projects, and the audiences that you serve. And we'll go back to Desiree.
All right. Hi guys. As Ariel alluded to, I am our IPM program manager. Specifically, that's because I manage one grant that is supposed to address a large proportion of the pest management related extension work that goes on here at UI. So even though I am the figurehead, it is a huge collaborative project with, I think, somewhere around like 20 different PDs across the state. Everything from entomology to plant pathology to weed science, nematology, you name it, we got it. That means that we do a lot of different extension-based work. So just like communication, we're not particularly research-oriented. The research goes on plenty outside. It's more my job to tell people about it and that of everyone else on this particular program. I'm an entomologist in particular, and our program director is an entomologist. So we end up answering a lot of entomological questions, but we do have, you know, a broad swath. I guess more relevant things. Stakeholders, as you might imagine, since we work statewide, and like Ariel alluded to, that means we wear a lot of hats. We work, of course, on our primary agricultural crops, potatoes being, of course, our poster child. But on top of that, we, particularly in the last few years, we've been working really hard to integrate more relationships with organic producers, master gardeners, to kind of help us with that smaller farm kind of production, get more into the horticultural element that is so much growing in our state. So we're trying to do it all, and I'm really excited to be here to kind of build on that small farm aspect.
Thank you. It's also exciting. All right, Kent, do you want me to repeat the question, or did you kind of hear it when I asked Desiree?
Kind of like tell them about what our role is up here.
Yeah, so your role, your projects, and the audiences that you serve.
Sure. So my specific role, I kind of manage the day-to-day operations here at the orchard. It's at the point where it's almost commercial grade, so that does take up a big portion of my time. I do manage our livestock rotation as well. So that's about the second big thing that I do up here. and helping our part-time workers and also our summer interns. I've been supervising them for a couple years now. We've had 10 through our program, and it's nice that it's gone full circle since I started out as an intern. So we are one of the only research stations in the state that's dedicated to organic and sustainable agriculture practices and research. So we're kind of hoping to move closer to getting a regenerative organic certification if we can, because that seems to be what's most appealing to local farmers in the area. And that's kind of like our whole vision up here, is try to pertain our research or what we're doing up here for local farmers in the area. I'll give a couple quick little things that we've done already. We had a 3-year soil study. U of I came up here to determine soil health and organic production systems. That just wrapped up this year, so we'll have those results soon. There is a precision agriculture research that's being done by the Coeur d'Alene robotics and computer science students. They're monitoring soil temperature, soil moisture, and this is exciting. There's potential for an additional precision agriculture sensors for in-tree sensors to track growth, moisture, and stress, which is perfect for an orchard. And lastly, we just had a huckleberry research plot. And what they were doing was trying to examine multiple aspects and treatments of greenhouse grown huckleberries and the treatment of root weevil that target huckleberry plants. And so they had a successful crop year with that as well. So we're still pretty new, we're getting our footing, but that's kind of what we got so far.
Wow. And you also host these, it's international, isn't it? The Heritage Fruit Orchard Conference?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. So that's a monthly seminar that we got going on between October and April. And luckily we have a couple months left. So if you're interested in that, or if you'd like to see if you'd be interested, we have all the past 4 years of webinars posted on our website. So if it's something that you'd be interested in, check out one of those, and the registration's free. So registration's on our website, and if you like it, please come on and enjoy it. They're pretty spectacular to watch.
They are indeed. Thank you so much, Kent.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, tell us about your role, your projects, and the audiences you serve.
So I serve as the director of the Food Technology Center and the Agribusiness Incubator. That's here at the Caldwell R&E Center, just west of Boise. The main mission of the Food Tech Center is to support the growth of small food businesses throughout the state of Idaho, but it expands into the Northwest. If you take a class from us, which we are actually offering for the first time in person, April 26th, because we moved it online during the pandemic, and we realized, I mean, as much value as online has, I prefer to speak to people in person and get an understanding of their food product. And then once they take the class, very broad brushstrokes on food safety, product development, business scale up, that gives them the ability to rent time in our kitchen. The research that we conduct in our pilot plant allows us to keep costs low for kitchen rental, because we are actually a revenue generating self-funded facility. The Agribusiness Incubator leans into providing space, processing space for people that are adding value to ag. Right now, we've got 3 different wineries renting space: Hat Ranch, which also has a Vail label, Houston Vineyards, which is chicken dinner, and a relatively new player in the market, which is Veer Wine Project. And we also have Nature's Indulgence Granola renting 2 bays. And the Food Technology Center actually rents 3 bays from the business incubator, because we have to have a place to store raw ingredients and finished goods and various pieces of equipment for food processing.
It's very exciting, and it's such a resource to our community to have that available to develop a food product. All right, so my next question, and all of you kind of touched on this a little bit, but maybe if you want to think a little bit more about the audience that we're talking to today. How can your work impact small-scale farmers, ranchers, and food producers? Let's go back to Desiree.
All right. Construction is ramping up, so I'm sorry again. But I guess, one thing that has been a large proportion of my almost last 2 years here has been working on our integrated pest management website. So integrated pest management, you sometimes hear it called IPM. It's kind of a term that we bandy about a lot, but basically it's just saying we're trying to manage pests in a holistic way. So I guess I'll put the link to this website in the chat because we're trying to make it a hub for a ton of different pest management information. Everything from, like I was saying, to these large scale crops, but everything down to the tomato in the pot on your back porch. So on this website, we have a plethora of different resources. I've been creating something we're calling pest profiles in collaboration with, I don't even know how many people at this point, but a ton of experts here at UI, which are these digestible, pretty short documents that say, here's some basic information about a pest, its biology that's relevant towards management, and then some, I guess, a broad spectrum of different management options, everything from, you know, your usual chemical controls, everything down to cultural controls and preventative measures. We're trying to make those a little bit more holistic. So I think that's a great resource. We link to a few other different educational resources. Kind of like Kent was saying, we have a webinar that we have a bunch of different recordings of. It's called the Cultivating Healthy Plants webinar. So many cultivating webinars. That's one that we host that oftentimes we'll talk about things that are much more relevant towards, you know, gardeners and small scale producers than ag producers. We really actually almost never address ag-based stuff. So that could be a great resource. We talk a lot about things like pollinators, water management. It's a collaborative webinar with, let's see, University of Idaho, Utah State, University of Nevada, Reno, and Montana State. So we bring in experts from all of those different universities to talk about topics. And the way that we decide those topics is based on surveys. So if you come, which you totally should, you can give us some more ideas about what you'd like to hear about as well. Another great resource that you can find on the IPM website is linked to pest tracking and alerts. That's something that the University of Idaho engaged in pretty heavily to try and keep everyone posted on what pests are outbreaking, when conditions might be favoring pest outbreaks, that type of thing. One that I think is probably uniquely relevant for this audience, or at least the most relevant, would be one that you'll see linked to on the website. It's called the P&W Pest Alert. I think there is a ton of different people at the University of Idaho who help with this, and it should be, we're building it actually on this next grant cycle. So should run full north, south, east, west. We're monitoring some of the most prevalent pests, and what you can do is sign up for email alerts, and experts on these different pests will post alerts when there's documented pest outbreaks or inundation in a new place. Sometimes they'll say, hey, we've hit this number of degree days or this level of pest abundance that suggests that treatment might be necessary, and things like that. So you should totally subscribe to those alerts. You can get specific for your area and interests, and they're a really great resource.
Thank you. Those are all really helpful. And we just revamped the PNW Pest Alert Network last year to include a whole category for small farms. So we're hoping to be populating it with things of interest to our small acreage growers. All right, Kent, same question. How can your work impact small farmers, ranchers, and food producers?
So we're still working on our long-term plans for research here at SOAC, but we kind of like that because that means we have a lot of possibilities where we can go with it. And we're trying to get as much feedback as possible from people in our region to help determine that direction. And we got together and we thought, being this far away from the agricultural hub of Idaho, it didn't really make sense for us to focus on something like potato research that just wouldn't translate to larger commercial growers in southern Idaho. So we're trying to focus on helping small to medium scale size growers in northern climates, especially in this specific microclimate here. But some of the topics that we've discussed with our advisory board include season extension research, which we already have the facilities for. We've kind of have 2 season extension greenhouses that we've built. Cover crop variety trials, which is something we want to start getting into. We have the no-till drill seeder, which we're excited about. regenerative agriculture in general, but specifically with animal integration. We've kind of already taken steps towards that route, and a closed loop fertility, especially on-site fertility. So trying to make a really healthy kind of weed-free compost, which has kind of been a big issue up in this region. But also I do want to mention that we are currently looking for a tenure track research faculty and extension specialist position up here at SOAC. And having that researcher who's dedicated to facilitating research here at SOAC is just going to help us so much with coming up with new projects and really putting the right foot forward here on out.
Thank you, Ken. That will really be a dream come true to have someone focused on horticulture up in that area. Really
Absolutely.
exciting. All right, Josh, how can your work impact small-scale farmers, ranchers, and food producers?
Well, since we have a place where you can produce food, that helps. So that's our main value, I would say. I collaborate extensively with Dr. Yana Hamlet, that is housed out of Twin Falls, who is the U of I's food safety specialist. I too am obviously a food safety specialist, but I'm doing a lot of other things. So we do like to consult with people that are growing products on the small scale that want to add value to them. We do our best to provide a fast track for people producing perishable items that want to preserve them. So they would get priority in our commercial kitchen if they were, say, to can a product or pickle a product, something of that nature. And anytime someone's got a commercialization question, we're happy to help how they might preserve and add value to whatever commodity they're growing. And do it safely, right? That's pretty important. You're muted.
Yes. And then what about helping maybe folks that want to produce something make a connection so that their ingredients could be locally grown?
Oh, certainly. We've got a lot of network connections in the Valley that we can connect people with. We also, this hasn't happened lately, but with the Boise Farmers Market, we can usually get somebody a booth for free for the day to get some market feedback on their product. We're really flexible with kitchen use. So if you just want to come here, try making the product and seeing what the market feedback would be. I mean, there's a very little investment involved because, as you might imagine, commercial kitchen equipment is rather expensive. And commercial kitchen is a little bit of a misnomer. It's really more accurate to say this is a small food manufacturing facility because we're not really designed for, say, commissary work. You know, we don't have a nice set of kitchen knives per se, but we've got filling equipment and large kettles and steam availability and that sort of thing, and a large commercial dehydrator. So we're more than happy to let people try out some of this equipment to see whether or not it's feasible for their particular product.
Wonderful. All right. So in the last couple of minutes, I think we've already shared how folks can find you. We put in the websites for your different programs and we've included your emails. But just tell us really quick, what do you have coming up that our audiences might be interested in? And let's just go backwards. Let's start with Josh and then go to Kent and Desiree.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier, but I believe it's April 26th. We are offering in-house here in Caldwell the Developing Your Food Product Idea class. It's one day on a Friday. Hoping to see a really good turnout.
Wonderful. And if you're viewing this webinar after the fact, that is going to still be available online?
It will be. It is on the Tech Help website. I'd give you the address, but it's way too long.
We'll get it. All right. Thank you so much, Josh. All right, Kent, what do you have coming up?
So our annual programming is suspended at the moment because we had a pipe that burst this winter, unfortunately. So construction is going to be going on through July. But some of the things that we're going to be doing in the fall is our annual public tasting. It's one of my personal favorite events. It's going to be on a Saturday in late October. It's kind of dependent on our harvest. So it'd either be the 19th or the 26th. And we're going to have a bumper crop this year. So I'm kind of hoping we'll have up to 30 different varieties to taste. And lastly, our third annual Selkirk Pend Oreille Food Summit. We're going to have that on November 8th. And thanks to Colette, that's been one of our biggest events we've ever had out here. And it brings a lot of exposure to our place.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you. All right, Desiree.
All right. I guess I'll put some things in chat for an upcoming webinar that we have. It's just about lawns, but it's part of our series, and everyone has a lawn that they could manage more sustainably. So I'll put that one in there. Other new things, we're currently working on updates to our Idaho insect identification website, which allows you to submit pictures so you can get an insect ID'd. Sometimes you might have to go into an R&E center or your local extension office, but oftentimes we also have those same experts working on IDs to this website, so that helps. And last but not least, a lot of you might need pesticide recertification credits, and we advertise a lot of the U of I pesticide safety and education program now through the IPM website. So last but not least, I'll paste that there, and you can keep an eye on that for new pesticide safety.
Thank you so much. And I'm just so inspired and proud to be part of our system when I hear from each of you. And think about this. These are 3 of my colleagues from 15 different research or affiliated centers and 42 extension offices. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, but I really invited these 3 because I thought that their work was especially relevant to our Cultivating Success audiences. So thank you all so much for being here today. I am going to pull up slides for one more time and just kind of get through to our finishing slides, because we really appreciate that you were here and joining us, and we are almost at the end of our time. So Colette, do you want to take back over and explain a little bit about evaluation and then the next steps?
Absolutely. Thank you, Ariel. So there's a QR code here. We have literally a 2-minute post-webinar evaluation where we're really asking for your feedback and what other topics you want to learn more about. So please take a minute to take that survey. It will also automatically launch in your browser at the close of today's webinar, and you will get a reminder tomorrow. So what they say is 3 times, we need to see something 3 times, right? Before we actually are taking action, but we hope that it doesn't take 3 times and that you can go ahead and take that quick evaluation for us. On Thursday, we will have another webinar at 11 a.m. Pacific, 12 o'clock Mountain. That webinar is going to focus on soil health and special programs for climate smart agriculture in our state. If you can go ahead and go to the Cultivating Success webinar series page. I did put that link in the chat. You can sign up for our upcoming webinars, and we are really excited to share more resources with you that are available statewide. We will make sure that all of the links from today's webinar are posted with the webinar recording. That will be up within a couple days. So thank you all. Thank you, Ariel, Desiree, Josh, and Kent for joining us today on today's Cultivating Success webinar. Thanks to our audience. We're really looking forward to having you part of our upcoming webinar series. And please remember that on the Cultivating Success Idaho YouTube channel, you can view the webinars from our past 4 years of webinar series. So there's over 100 different webinars that have been recorded and are available. So thank you all and have a really great day.